Okay, this is an extension video to show you how to make your model more accurately in SketchUp. Start by selecting the millimeters as your template so that then when you type in units they're in the correct format. So I'm going to start by drawing a base piece that's 300 by 300. So just draw the line, type the length and press enter. And you can do the same thing with push-pull. So as I pull it up, I can now type in my height of 6, press enter, and that's done. One of the key things here is to make sure you make each thing a component as you go along. So select the object, press G, and then type in the component details. That will group it, but also make it a component that you can replicate and select from a list if you need to make multiples of something. Okay, now I've started making one of the articulated sections. So again, I'm just drawing the line and typing in the length I want it to be, and then I type in the depth as I pull it up. I'm going to make a comb joint on this piece here. So the way the comb joint works is it's divided into thirds. So I've made it 30. So I'm going to go along by 30. And then draw a line down. And then I can push that side away to 10 by starting to push, then type 10 and press enter. And I can do the same on the other side. At this end, I'm going to go in by 10. And then down by 30 to remove the center. You can think of this just like marking out on a piece of wood. It's exactly the way you would do it. And then when it gets to the stage where you cut it out, instead, you just select the push-pull and push it until it reaches the edge and it's gone. Now I'm just going to round off these edges and add some circular holes to the center. There we go. Now, whenever you're reproducing something, of course, I've made that a component. You can see it selects as one thing by pressing G. And now I can use the move tool to line this up. So I've got 3 of them in a row, like my design. So just do copy and paste, Control C, Control V, and then use an end point so you can align them nice and neatly. I'm just aligning this roughly at the moment. Okay, so the end one, I actually need to change that slightly because it's not going to have a comb joint at the end. It needs to be squared off and have a dowel joint. So I'm going to make that a unique component. Otherwise, it would edit each of the 3 as I went to move it. So I'm just going to flatten off that edge by drawing a line and pushing away the piece I don't need. This can get a little bit messy because you have to keep finding the lines to remove. So there's a better way of doing it using what's called an intersection, where you draw a square and use that square to chop it away. But it's a little bit more complicated at this stage. So if you just draw lines and click away to delete the pieces you don't want, and then fill in any gaps, that works just as well, if not a little bit slower. Now, just like you would on a real piece of wood, I want to find the center. So I've just drawn an X, draw a circle, and I'm going to type in my radius as I go. So I've typed 3 to get a 6mm circle. And then remove my guidelines. And I'm just going to pull that out a bit to show the dowel joint on the end with the push-pull. So it's 6 wide and 6 out, because it's going into a base that's only 6mm. And I've put a corresponding hole in that earlier. Please bear in mind this video is double time, so it's not too long. But it wouldn't be very easy to work this fast. There we go. And now I'm just going to use my rotate tool to make this look a bit more realistic. So select the piece you want and then move to the pivot point, and then you can rotate from there like it's actually rotating. I didn't bother putting wing nuts and washers into here. It's not necessary. They're bought-in components anyway that I'm not going to make. So the model is still made to scale and shows everything that I need to build. if you're not making stuff physically at home for this project, then you can do this for your development and your final designs, and then have very clear plans to work from if you do decide to make it in a workshop. Right, I'm working on the claw grabber section now, so I've just drawn a flat plane to work on. And then I'm just going to go for it and draw out the basic shape. Imagine you've got a piece of wood and you're just drawing out the shape you're going to cut. That's what we're doing. But make sure all the lines are on the face. Otherwise, sometimes it can look like you've drawn a flat object, but you haven't. I'm just adding in some curves here and then deleting the excess parts. So I'm making one grabber component, and then I'm going to make it a component and duplicate it. So now I can remove, once I've put the hole in the center, another 6mm hole, because I'm going to be using 6mm bolts or dowels for everything. So I've drawn a hole and typed 3 again there, and remove all of that outside edge. Then I can get rid of the hole in the center and pull this up and group it. G, and then type in the information. This is going to be used 4 times this piece, so definitely worth duplicating. Just going to add a little detail here by pushing down the surface so that when I make the real model, it would be nice for the grabber parts to be able to overlap so they're aligned neatly. So if I remove half the depth from here by going down to the midpoint, I've realised that if I just have it like that, that's not going to actually be able to move at all. So I've now taken out it a little bit further down. And there's my main component of the grabber. Now I'm going to add some of the connecting dowels that you will be able to see in the card modelling video, Kaizen number 2. Now, this component, I will need to flip it. So I've made it unique. I'm going to get rid of those poles because I don't need them on this half, and then I need to flip it. So if I go to select my component, flip along, and I always get this wrong. I always forget which axis is which. So I think it's third time lucky this time. Green axis, you can see it's flipped over, so it's the opposite. And I can now place that on top so it's perfectly aligned, and then slide it up. So I've got 2 aligned grabbers when I get it in the right place, with a dowel joint running between the 2 of them. Now, just to make things complicated, I'm going to copy and paste that, flip it, still got it wrong, but it's not the same because each component needs to be flipped now so that they line up. So I've gone onto each one, selected the base piece and flipped that separately so that they line up with each other when I put them back together. So when you've got a component, to edit part of it, you have to double click so you can edit on a sub level. And I'm selecting just that part and then flipping that. And hopefully you'll see now that that will align with the other piece. Now, obviously you're not making the exact same thing as me, but hopefully some of these techniques such as grouping, flipping, will be flipping helpful for your model. Now I need to just place that up at the top, but my computer crashed, so I lost the model. So that's the end.